G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Dowling from the website and YouTube channel Kangaroo Court of Australia. Now, I've just published an article titled NACC Commissioner Paul Brereton defends Robodebt decision and says witnesses are more comfortable with secret hearings. And that comes from a recent speech he gave. But before I read out the article, please hit the like and subscribe button and the notification button so you get notified every time I publish a video. And please make sure you share this video on social media. Now, the article starts off. NACC Commissioner Paul Brereton gave a speech where he in effect defended the decision not to investigate the Robodebt 6, defended NACC's secret hearings, and seems to be under the delusion he's a James Bond type figure running a secret service. Commissioner Paul Brereton was well aware that the NACC and himself were under investigation by the inspector of the NACC when he gave a speech, which makes me wonder if he, at least in some parts of the speech, was an attempt to influence the inspector's investigation. The speech was given at the Australian Public Sector Anti-Corruption Conference in Darwin on the 31st of July 2024, but was not uploaded to the NACC's website until the 5th of August 2024, which helps explain why it went almost unreported except for one article in the Australian Financial Review. I've read the speech and there are some nuggets of gold in it, especially given Commissioner Paul Brereton lied about recusing himself from the Robodebt 6 decision, which is now under investigation along with the NACC refusing to investigate the Robodebt 6. The speech is on the NACC's website, and I've also saved it as a PDF so I can reference the pages as per in the article. And I've got links to both those in the article. I've read the speech, highlighted the key parts as I see it, and then given my comments below with the page numbers on my PDF version, so you can check it yourself. Now, on page 1 of Paul Brereton's speech, it says, "Today, a day short of the 13th month since our inception, I'm first going to give an overview of our origins, mission, structure and jurisdiction. Some among you may already have heard this, but many may have not, and I hope above all it may assist those who are, as we speak, embarking on establishing new anti-corruption commissions. Then I'll describe what we are seeing, in general terms, what we are doing. I'll also address some of the issues that have arisen. Finally, I'll elaborate what is presently the focus of our corruption prevention agenda, reinforcing ethical decision-making in the Commonwealth public sector." On page 2, purpose and mission, the National Anti-Corruption Commission was established to provide independent assurance to the people of Australia that corrupt conduct involving Commonwealth public officials is prevented, detected, investigated and responded to appropriately. To generate that effect, we have adopted our mission to enhance integrity in the Commonwealth public sector by deterring, detecting and preventing corrupt conduct involving Commonwealth public officials through education, monitoring, investigation, reporting and referral. To achieve that mission, we have two main lines of operation. Number 1, deterring corrupt conduct through detection, investigation and exposure. And 2, preventing corrupt conduct through education and engagement. My comment on page 2, the NACC has failed badly and is seen as a bad joke, especially by members of the public who follow the NACC's performance. The fact that the NACC is under investigation by the inspector of the NACC for failing to investigate the Robodebt 6 is a huge public embarrassment, to say the least. And page 3, corrupt conduct. An abuse of office can be committed through the exercise of influence arising from the person's public office or the use of information obtained in their capacity as a public official. My comment, I thought that part of the definition of corrupt conduct in Commissioner Brereton's speech is highly relevant to Brereton lying about recusing himself from the Robodebt 6 decision. Now I've moved straight on to page 9. Our current strategic corruption priorities are the Australian border, complex procurements, senior public official decision-making, contractors and consultants, the environmental sector, corruption affecting vulnerable people. There are three main domains in which we are seeing both perception and actuality of corrupt conduct. They are the fields of procurement, recruitment and promotion, and at that interface of the public sector and the private sector. In all those areas, the perceived and actual mechanisms of corruption are typically 1, the preferring of family, friends and associates, and 2, the misuse of official information to gain an advantage. These mechanisms produce a subversion of the public decision-making process to serve a private benefit. Almost invariably, they have their origin in a conflict of interest. My comment, once again, Commissioner Paul Brereton's speech is highly irrelevant to Brereton lying about recusing himself from the Robodebt 6 decision, especially where he says These mechanisms produce a subversion of the public decision-making process to serve a private benefit. Almost invariably, they have their origin in a conflict of interest. Paul Brereton has a close relationship with Catherine Campbell and her husband John Brennan, as I reported on the 23rd of June 2023 in an article titled Catherine Campbell's Robodebt Lies on Video and Her Friendship with the NACC Commissioner Paul Brereton, and on the 26th of July 2023 in an article titled Governor General David Hurley is $80 million fraud and his mate NACC Commissioner Paul Brereton. In both those articles, I have a lot of photos of them together, David Hurley, Catherine Campbell and Paul Brereton. Now we move on to page 11. Three pervasive themes provide the focus of our corruption prevention and education work. First is conflicts of interest. Everyone in public life will sometimes encounter situations where they may have a private material or personal interest or connection that is relevant to their public duty. Not every such situation results in corrupt conduct. Most do not. Yet at the heart of almost every case of corruption is a conflict of interest where someone prefers their own interest to the public interest. We will shortly issue guidance for public officials on identifying and declaring conflicts and managing them so they do not infect the decision-making process. The second is the ethical decision-making, to which I shall return. The third theme is corruption risks and vulnerabilities that are likely to arise in the context of an election, which is particularly relevant with the federal election due in less than a year. These include issues such as political donations and fundraising, government advertising, appointments, and pork barrelling, particularly through grant schemes. Grants in particular have already attracted our interest and are a current focus of both our investigatory and prevention lines of operation. My comment is like Commissioner Paul Brereton is prosecuting himself, for example, where he says, the heart of almost every case of corruption is a conflict of interest, which is exactly why he's in a lot of trouble and has to be sacked. Transparency and secrecy. I turn now to some of the issues that have confronted us. Sometimes we hear complaints that people do not know what we are doing, and more especially, who and what we are investigating. Such disclosure would not be expected of an intelligence agency and should not be expected of us. My comment, the National Anti-Corruption Commission is arguably a quasi-judicial body, given it has hearings and makes findings, and should be bound by open justice like courts are and like the New South Wales ICAC is. Well, Commissioner Paul Brereton says such disclosure would not be expected of an intelligence agency and should not be expected of us. Where does an intelligence agency come from? Brereton is delusional. Paul Brereton obviously regards himself as some sort of James Bond, but I think the public regard him as more of a Maxwell Smart type figure. Page 12. The hearings are meant to be a means of gathering evidence and information, not a show trial from which many of the protections of a criminal trial are absent. Moreover, many witnesses are more comfortable and give more helpful evidence in private than in public. My comment, every day around the country, people have been accused but not been found guilty, go to court to defend themselves, and the media freely report on that because Australia has an open court judicial system. Every week, journalists will name a person of interest the police believe might have committed a crime, and sometimes the journalist will stick a camera in the person's face asking them questions. But when it comes to politicians and political staffers, it's a whole new ball game that politicians and NACC Commissioner Paul Brereton tell us. Paul Brereton is a former judge and he knows the law as per below. The High Court has said that the rationale of an open courts principle is a court proceeding should be subjected to public and professional scrutiny, and courts will not act contrary to the principle, save in exceptional circumstances. And Russell v. Russell Gibbs J said that it is the ordinary rule of courts of Australia that their proceedings shall be conducted publicly in an open view. Without public scrutiny, abuses may flourish undetected. I published 2 articles in 2022 that exposed the key justification for the secret hearings as a lie that the government pushed. The first on the 9th of October 2022 titled Attorney General Mark Dreyfus cooks the books to justify secret hearings at the National Anti-Corruption Commission, and video you won't see at a federal ICAC. And the second on the 19th of October 2022 titled New South Wales ICAC Commissioner John Herziges exposed a lie being told by the Federal Attorney General Mark Dreyfus to justify secret hearings. Page 13. The decision-making process on the referrals is ultimately made by our senior assessment panel, in which I am advised by the 3 deputy commissioners, the heads of our legal, operational, capabilities and evaluation branches. My comment, that is important to understand as Commissioner Paul Brereton is the boss on decision-making on all referrals and his lie about recusing himself was designed to make sure he secretly stayed the boss regarding the NACC's decision not to investigate the Robodebt 6, page 14. Then in deciding what we will investigate, we consider the prospects of whether an investigation will discover corrupt conduct. Many referrals that on their face raise corruption issues contain allegations which are so fantastically conspiratorial as not to warrant further investigation. Then we prioritise our efforts, usually according to the gravity, scale and erogenous of the conduct, our strategic priorities, and above all, whether and to what extent an investigation is likely to add value in the public interest. For example, historical matters are less likely to add value in the public interest, so I have reluctantly declined to exercise my extraordinary powers to investigate the alleged conspiracy that resulted in the dismissal of the 1975 Whitlam government. And where a matter has already been investigated and exposed in another forum or another process can provide remedies that we cannot, it may not add value to conduct another investigation simply for the sake of characterising the conduct as corrupt. On the other hand, where other agencies might encounter obstacles in gaining access to information, our additional powers may be a reason for us to open an investigation. Sometimes the value may lie in clearing the air, a conclusion that there was not corrupt conduct, where there has been an allegation or perception of corruption, may assist in restoring public confidence and reputations. An important corollary of this is that just because we open an investigation does not mean that we necessarily think there is corruption to be found. My comment. Commissioner Paul Brereton seems to be justifying not investigating matters more than justifying why the NACC should investigate. I wonder if he said some of the above with Robodebt in mind. I think the answer is below where he mentions Robodebt, page 15. I explain integrity for our purposes as involving making decisions, giving advice honestly and impartially on the evidence and the merits, in the public interest and without regard to personal interest, accepting responsibility for it, including for mistakes, and reporting honestly. My comment. I have no doubt that Commissioner Paul Brereton had Robodebt 6 referrals swept under the carpet because of his personal interest, and the above shows he knows he breached his duty, if not the law. Page 16. The National Anti-Corruption Commission is a guardrail institution established in part to restore public trust in the Commonwealth public sector. Recent controversies, such as Robodebt, have illuminated the challenges that can confront public servants in an environment where they are expected to be responsive to government. Rather than reinvestigating what has already been exposed, we are addressing this both through our prevention and education work and through investigating similar types of behaviour elsewhere. My comment. For NACC Commissioner Paul Brereton to mention Robodebt in a speech and then try to justify not investigating the Robodebt 6 while he knows the NACC and himself are under investigation for that very issue is one of the most unethical things I've ever seen. Paul Brereton should not be saying a word about Robodebt until the inspector's investigation is complete. I also published a short video on the latest NACC news on the 4th of October 2024 titled Australian Parliament House Raided by the NACC, and that video is embedded in the article. Conclusion. Given it took the NACC 5 days from the 31st of July until the 5th of August to upload the speech to their website, I wonder if it was edited by someone. That we will never know. But I suspect someone was worried about its content, and for good reason given the points I've made above. If Commissioner Paul Brereton was charged for his attempt to cover up the Robodebt 6 crimes, his above speech could be used as evidence against him because it shows he knows the law but ignored it anyhow. The chances of Commissioner Paul Brereton being charged is zero because he'll be protected. But the positive is Brereton will be a permanent reminder of how corrupt the NACC is as long as he is the Commissioner. Commissioner Paul Brereton must think if he keeps pushing through the media cycle, people will forget and his job will be safe. I doubt it, and I expect the NACC to be a big issue at the federal election, which is due within the next 6 months. Now, make sure you visit my website, Kangaroo Court of Australia, and read that article. It's got a lot more information there, a lot of links to a lot further information. It's got that other video in there on the latest NACC news with the raid on Parliament House by the NACC and also the latest update by the inspector in relation to her investigation into the NACC for the Robodebt 6 cover-up. And Kangaroo Court of Australia's independent media. I publish a website and a YouTube channel, and I'm 100% crowdfunded from viewers like yourself. So please support my Patreon account or PayPal account, and you can donate any amount, $3, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30, $40, $50 a month, whatever suits your budget. It all helps out in a big way. I currently have 461 supporters on Patreon donating $2,374 a month, and I need to almost double that to become financially viable. So please support that. The link for the Patreon account and PayPal account will be below this video on YouTube and also on my website. And please share this video on social media, and please hit the like and subscribe button and notification button. On that, thank you for your time and have a good day.